Okay, we are making up here Horayos Daf Yud base, starting from Halacha Hey. The Mishnah itself is not missing, but let's start from the Mishnah itself. Kohen Kohen Levi in precedence, Kohen comes before a Levi, and then a Levi Yisrael. So Mamzer Nasim. Nasim is a Gibeonite. Nasim Lager. Lager is somebody who was not born Jewish, was Nasim, although they have deficits, was born Jewish. That's which makes this Mishnah totally unoperational and impractical. It has to do with it's only if they're all equivalent in their piety or their stature. But Mamzer time Chacham, the Kohen go to Amaretz, Mamzer time Chacham, the Kohen go to Amaretz. You give precedence in honor and respect and dignity and all sorts of other benefits to the Talmid Chacham, even though he's a mamzer over the Kohen Gadol who is an Amoritz. Okay, so immediately the Yerushalmi adds Chacham Kohen LaMelech. The Melech does not appear in our Mishnah because our Mishnah talks about intrinsic yichus, whereas the Melech is in a appointed position. But a Chacham comes before a Melech. Melech Kohen Gadol, and a Melech comes before a Kohen Gadol. Kohen Gadol Kohen LaNavi. Interesting, even though Navi seems to have a greater level of holiness than anybody, but nevertheless, since the Navi is not official position, so
the Navi can't go into Kodesh HaKadoshim.
What?
The Navi cannot go into
That's
Kodesh
true. Can't go to Kodesh HaKadoshim, and even though Kohen Gadol Amoretz theoretically can, but so a Navi is. But the talking about obviously Navi is not a Chacham, right? Moran Ba'abasa says Chacham Adif Minavi. So this is obviously talking about a Navi who's not a Talmid Chacham. Because if it was Talmid Chacham, then he would take precedence as being Talmid Chacham. Navi Kohen Mashiach Muhammad. Navi comes for the Kohen was designated to accompany the nation out to war. Mashiach Muhammad Mishmar Mashiach comes before the head of the Mishmar. That was one of the 24 Mishmar Skuna. Rosh Mishmar Kohen Beisov, the head of the Mishmar, takes precedence over the head of the Beisov. Each Mishmar is divided into 7 but they off each day of the week. Beisov Kohen Amar Kol. They saw it comes before the Markol, who was a position, which is a position in the hierarchy of the Beis Hamikdash, where the Rabbi Moshe says Markol Amar Kulo. He's in charge of the treasurers. I don't Amarkol. I'm not sure Amarkol make it into modern Hebrew, but it's a position of kind of like a menahel. Markol Kodim the Gizbar, the Markol comes before the treasurer, the individual treasurers. The Gizbar Kodim the Kohen Hedior. The Gizbar comes before a common Kohen. Kohen Hedior Kohen Levi Yisrael. You saw Mamzer Nasi Nager. Yeah, Meshuchar. Emosai Sanchkum Shavin. But Avo Im Hoya Mamzer Tam Chacham Kohen Go Amoretz. Mamzer Tam Chacham Kohen Kohen Go Amoretz. Okay, that's the end of that. Price. It was like our Mishnah. Chacham Kohen Melech. Chacham Shemeis Ein Lo Kayotzibo. Why? Because Gemara explains. Chacham who died, there's no replacement for a Chacham who died. Melech Shemeis, big deal. Any Jew can be a king. Okay, obviously, kings have been come and gone. Most of them have not been the necessarily most upstanding of our citizens, and anybody could be a king.
Well, no, but you're supposed to put up a Melech the Zera based David.
Yeah, but you don't have to. That's only optimal, you know. Any time to Harry. Harry's supposed to be Kevachicha, it's supposed to be born a Jew, but that's about it. The only criteria. The only reason Herod and Crippus and all those guys were, castigators because they were not really born Jewish. The question whether they even Gaia properly. Rabbi Yochanan, close on our Baim Yom, also Moshe and Bahar. All those 4 days, Moshe was in Har Sinai. I love me term Shakha. We learned Torah, but you forget it. It was so Naslam and Eaton about Torah. The end was given him as a gift. Why? Shilachzir Esa Tipshim. Fascinating Yerushalmi. Moshe says Lachzir Esa Tipshim. Sheshochim Mashlomdim. Those of us who forget what we learned, I'm a 10th time through Bavli now, and amazing how much we forget. We don't have an excuse. What's the point of causing over and over again? Doesn't get in, right? So, tshuva mimoshe. Okay, so keep going. Eventually, you get as a gift. The Kikar Aden, which is the very bottom of the page, says very different shots, kind of like the famous story of Rabbi Preda, who taught us Talmud 400 times until Talmud understood. Right, so keep even if you have a stupid student, keep teaching. Eventually, something will penetrate, and it's a weird parallel to Moshe Rabbeinu, but the saying, look, sometimes it's just got to do. Okay, I like that lashon. Zero satipshin. Make them chaz. Lost my place. Kadamach Rabbi Simon, when Rabbi Simon Bar Zelvin, when Rabbi Simon Zavi died. Oh, Rabbi Hili. Rabbi Hili came in after lay and he gave him the following eulogy. Yesh la kesev motzah. There's a source for silver. Bar Zelvin after he cooked, you can get metal out of the ground. Elu im avdu yesh le chalifin. These that they get lost, we have a way to replace them. Amal tam b'chacham shemeis. The tam b'chacham who dies, me maybe who can bring us as replacement. The chachma from whence it shall be found. Now, its source is hidden from any living person. Rabbi Levi. Rabbi Levi says, if the brothers Yosef, because they found the grain, returned to them, their hearts fled them. The Chesibah says they'd say libam, says the hearts fled. Anu shavanu Rabbi Maimon, Basiman Barzir Zobit, we love Rabbi Simon Bar Zobit, al achas kama, how much more so? Now I have here a note on the side of my Gemara. Look at the Mashbiach and Brachas Tav Chafam now for a nice shot. Let me get that quickly. Oh, this one was very long. Yeah. The brothers Yosef found a lost item, but you were lem rayos chazakos k'mitzia matzu, and that definite, strong proofs that it was a mitzia. Barak kishivu ata. I guess the proof is that they returned it when they came back to Egypt. Yesh Rai Gdolim Mizos. Is there a greater proof? In other words, that they didn't steal it. She don't say that they returned it because they were compelled by the famine. They left Shimon as collateral. How can they steal money? They stole. They would know that Shimon would remain there forever. Because of the theft they just stole. So they're afraid that maybe something bad would happen to them, even though it would have been clear to Yosef that it was just a coincidence. Anu Shamnos Rabbi Shimon, we lost Rabbi Shimon, and he certainly, if we lose a tzaddik, it's definitely because something bad is going to happen to us. How much more so? Okay, I don't know if that's such a great shot, but it's a nice shot. I know to say that if the brothers Yosef on something where they probably nothing would happen to them, we're upset. Certainly, if we know something bad can happen to us, which happens when Tam B'Chacham dies, we should be upset. Okay. Mel Kohen Gadol. King goes for Kohen Gadol. See, the Kartem Shlo B'Bni, and the end of the pasuk says, "Look at Moshe." It says, "Sivolem She'akiva So B'Chashivos." David said that Shlomo should go first. The tzaddik and he should go also on a horse. And tzaddik, the Kohen Gadol, etc., they followed him by foot. Also, this part says, "Shamar letzaddik Kohen Nesanovi, l'chuim lachem abdei adoneichem." I guess he told them to take Avodim. I'm a Melech Hashum Mikulam, and he didn't sell that to Shlomo. I guess he gave Sadok and Nasan additional commands, which he gave to Shlomo, meaning that Shlomo is more Hashum. Okay, so that is how you know Melech is Kedem to everybody else, except for the Chacham. Melech again, Melech Kedem, see by the comment of Shlomo. Shlomo Kedem Navi, see Moshe Moshachos so Sham. David Mel continues and says that Shlomo should be anointed by Tzadok HaKoyim and Nasan Navi, Lamelech, Hikdim Tzadok and Nasan. So the first going on, and then the Navi. Yem Shem Mechama Bar Chanina Navi Mikapas Yodav Raglov Yoshev Lo Bifnei Kohen Gadol. I'm not sure exactly what that means. It says here in the Bnei Moshe Klomar Mi Yoshe Banavol Bnei Kohen Gadol. The Yod of Rago Fusinem. It says as if his hands and legs are bound. Interesting way of indicating on Nava. I don't remember such a phrase anywhere else. But Navi sits in Nava Bnei Kohen Gadol. Matayma, why? What's the possible of this? Shmana Yoshua Kohen Gadol Ata Barecha Yoshi Lepanecha. Listen, Yoshua Kohen Gadol, you and your friends are sitting in front of you. You're two of these friends, were they commoners? Talmud Lord but says, can't shame or face Ema. People of outstanding people. They mo face El Nabua. Outstanding in this sense, it means that they're wondrous people, and that's Nabua. Echmat Omar, like it says in the Torah about a Navi Sheker, mind you, it says about Navi, the Nasei Lecha Osum face gives you a sign or a wonder. Navi Kohen Mashur Milchama, Mashur Milchama Kohen L'Rosh Mishmar, Mashur Kohen Rosh Beis Av, Rosh Beis Av Kohen Marko, Marko Kohen Gizbar, Gizbar Kohen Hedyo, Kohen Levi, Levi Yisrael, Lo.
Ava.
So the Shinur in the Schos here says on the bottom, Levi Yisrael Nusracher Kohen Lo Have Levi. It's explaining a Kohen can't be a Levi. Levi lo hava Yisrael. So what does that mean? So what? So Pnei Moshe says, lo hava Levi, lo hava Yisrael, which is the verse of the Schos. Came to bear the sign of the Gabi Mace Mitzvah. Do you find Mace Mitzvah or somebody has become Tomei? Levi social Matsu Mace Mitzvah, you tell me so I tell me Levi. The Yisrael should come to me, not Levi. Part of a low will Levi, Yisrael. The same stature in terms of Tumatara. Balian to Moshe Moshavimba. Mashani answers us and Rabbi Avun, Mishasa Duchan Shania. So at the time of the Duchan. The Shah Shalvim Omrim Duchan, Omrim Shir. So really he needs to go to the base of Mikdash, right? Hilkach Yitama Yisrael by his Bata Levi Minashir. Therefore, the Yisrael should become Tameh, and the Levi should not, nor Levi should not be canceled from going to his role. I need the Levi come so Nami law. That's just, even though this is nothing to do specifically with precedence in terms of honor, it's because it has to do with Mace Mitzvah, but it's brought down here anyway. Okay. So the way you read it is again, Levi Yisrael, Levi Yisrael. It should be the way it should be Levi Yisrael. Lo hu Levi hu Yisrael. It's the same stature. Rabbi Avun b'shas Duchan Shanim. So at the time of the Duchan. Amar Rabbi Avun. Rabbi Avun said, "Ger umumar la'akum." Interesting question. You have a ger and you have a regular Jew who's the Rebbe about a Zola. Mumar koidim. They ma'aser she'ira. The mumar comes first because of a story. What's the story? This is a story which some people attribute to say a story about Yoshka. The story about Yeshua ben Prachil. That's the name Moshe. You can either be Magai the Ger, you can get the Mumar to do tshuva. The top of my Mumar Kaidim. Go first for the Mumar. But I'll teach Choso, and don't push him away. Name Maisha Shira. The Zel Yishay saw Mumar, there was he saw Mumar. Some say it was Yeshua. Ubaliv name Rabbi Yeshua ben Prachia. It says more close to Yeshua, but the question was the same Yeshua. Rabbi Yeshua ben Prachia came from Rabbi Yeshua ben Prachia, Chazir b'tshuva, that Rabbi Yeshua ben Prachia should bring allowed to tshuva. Kamina ba'goda, goda schelek. Local Rabbi Yeshua ben Prachia should dacha v'shtei yadayim, who pushed away Yeshua with two hands. The Chazim also both. See what happened to him. The problem is how historically Yeshua ben Prachia was way too early. That's probably not our Yeshua, it's another Yeshua. But in any event, he'll come out to Chesamur Mivnei Ger, El Kagavel Mikoyim Lo. So first we Makariv the Mumar before you Makariv the Ger, because the Mumar, obviously, we want him to do Tshuva. A Ger, it's nice he's a Magayer, but it's not essential. But the Mumar do Tshuva is very, very important. Why does everybody want to marry a Giores? They don't want to marry a Meshuchreres. Because Giores because Giores, we assumed before she was Magayer, she was a nice woman. She was not a Prutza. Meshuchreres Cheskas Hefker. But a Meshuchreres is we assume to be that she was, when she was a slave, she's assumed to have been a wanted woman. Why does everybody want to kill mice? Interesting segue here, right? Why does everybody want to kill mice? Because they're bad to human beings. How so? Says mice ruin everything. Even some which they have no anah. They're very just destructive. Evidently, I guess ants, something like that. Okay, they're destructive, but at least they gain from it. So therefore, they're not as impulsive as mice, which go and destroy things wantonly. Okay, a bit weird, but it says. I'm Rabbi Yochanan. Al Tami Be'evet Ashisha Sordor. Don't believe in a slave until 16 generations. And this has to do with a couple of days ago. Yishmael ben Netanya ben Lishamam Yizar Melucha Yake es Gedalyahu b'mitzpeh. Evidently, the murder of Gedalia, for which we have some Gedalia, came from was a descendant of Avodim from 16 generations back, and nevertheless, he killed Gedalia. So it says in Mizera Malucha, which sounds like he wasn't yet from a ger, but it says here named Moshe. He was a Mizera Evet Shenishtachrer. I have here to look in the Shai Torah, so just let me see what it says there. The Shai Torah Yisrael says, yeah, they're doing different nuschos here. Okay, I'm not sure why it's important, but some say 22 generations, some say 17 generations. Okay, big deal. But I thought it was going to tell us something more about this fellow, but it doesn't. Okay. Rishon Levi Omer Rosh V'Zokain. Here's the Shai, so and Amudi Yerushalmi Horayos on the bottom. Change the gears here. Let's see Amudi Yerushalmi Horayos on the bottom. Rosh V'Zokain Zokain Kodem She'eno Rosh. Nitzko B'Tzido I B'nei Moshe Mashpirish B'di Yerushalmi Alolu. See it to B'nei Moshe read. Udval Perusho Ein Lo Shachar Klau. His interpretation has no morning to it. Asher Yireh Mayim. Amazing about Shuta Goinim. Shevasu Bevin, Ishnas Tofresh Lamrab, Alpi, Aide Reb Nachman Coronel. Nachman Coronel was Carmi Shapiro's great grandfather, something like that. Shetikti Yerushalmi, he typed Yerushalmi as follows: Omer B'Shimon Levi, Rosh V'Zaken, Rosh Kohen V'Zaken, She'eno Rosh. So you have a head, somebody who is a designated position, and a Zaken, an elder. So the Rosh, who is a Zaken, takes precedence of a Zaken She'eno Rosh. See, Atem Nitzavim, Roshechem, Shoftechem, Bezignechem. So see, the Rashim and Shoftim come before this Canaan. Please ask Yishapatim Yisham Bushitas. I'm much because of him. Moshe, we hear like God is going to be a mob. Boni Glua Chulas going to laws. When the other people wrote their interpretations here, they did not have the Chulas Hagoyim. Okay, so Shimon Levi Omer Rosh V'Zaken, Rosh Koidem V'Zaken She'eno Rosh. Im Eno Zaken, and it actually goes on here. It says Im Eno Zaken, which means, and you know what? Even the Rosh is not a Zaken, he still takes precedence. I assume that's because the pasuk, right? It says Rosh Nechem. So we give honor to the position, even though the other person is older. That's kind of like Rebbe Elazar ben Azariah and Ram Gamliel, right?
Zaken mean older? Does Zaken mean older, or does it mean Talmid Chacham?
No, yeah, probably more learned also. So it's like, you know, Rebbe Elazar ben Azariah, when he was there at the Sanhedrin, even though he was a youngster, and even though there were great Talmid Chacham there, like Akiva and Rabbi Yeshua, besides Gamliel, nevertheless, the Rosh takes precedence. Etc. See, so Yeshua's kozik ne Yisrael shchema. So now actually this is a question. See, sounds like this Canaan came first. Moshe K'dim Rosh came, Yeshua K'dim came Rosh. So it's contradiction. So Moshe, this are you a kol tamid of? Moshe said he was a Talmud of Moshe. So then K'dim Roshim was Canaan. So he put the Russian for his Canaan. B'shua Ha'idei Shelo you a kol tamid of. K'dim is Canaan with Russian. So I don't know exactly why it should be that way. I guess that Moshe didn't need any assistance. So therefore, he could put the Russian before this Canaan. Yeshua, he needed assistance. So for him, as for assistance, he needed guidance from this Canaan more than from the Russian. So therefore, he collected this Canaan to be his counselors, right? As opposed to Russian had authority, he needed counselors. He took the Canaan to surround him first. I think that's what it means. It goes on though.
Well, the answer is Moshe. So
what?
That's
Moshe kibush aretz. Moshe, we didn't meet them with kibush aretz. Hiktim Roshim came. So they should start them kibush aretz. Hiktim was came in Roshim. Moshe they should learn Yagea the Talmud Torah, which is weird. He wasn't Yisageh Talmud Torah. Fine. Hiktim Roshim was Cain. Maybe he appreciated them more because he had to put more effort into it himself. Let's bring Moshe saying this. Sure, they should Yisageh. Here, Baba Torah, Moshe took all the Yisageh member Talmud Torah. So the fun of him, leave name Roshim. No, he's saying also, since Moshe didn't need this Canaan with the Russian, so he put the Russian first. So he needed this Canaan more because he needed to learn with them. As before we said, Rosh is not necessarily a Zaki, right? He's not necessarily Talmud Chacham. So Yeshua needed this Canaan, therefore he gave them precedence. Yeshua, the Rabbi Levi said, Moshe, they should suffer Baruch HaKodesh, Shasidim Yisrael. He said, he's going to change the gears to Lishtabed. Malchus in the bottom says, Shtay Malchus, Roshen Omni Gabem, Hiktim Roshim Les Kanim. interesting, since he saw that they're eventually going to have to be shubad, so therefore he wanted to set up a hierarchy to last them during Golus. I'm not sure why you're sure not. So the Bnei Moshe doesn't change the Girsa. The Bnei Moshe does listacher. Listacher liosnim sorim b'yad malchus v'shem imohem. No, actually it is similar. It says since they're eventually going, listacher means they're going to be given over, right, to non-Jewish governance, and there you're going to need shtadlonim. Roshim them lishtadel alehem. So it's like an askun. It takes the essence over Talmud Chacham, because the asking can get them favors from the government that the Talmud Chacham cannot. Okay, so he says here that so that's the precedence for making dinners and honoring askanim over Talmidei Chachamim, because you need askanim to support the yeshivas and get them the favors more than you need the Rosh Yeshiva who are contingent on the askanim. And I think that's what we have to make up for. That's the end of that sugya, and we will therefore stop here for today.
Okay, sure.
Let me stop recording here.